right, hey boys and girls, we're going to check out what happened in the United States after World War I, leading into the 1920s, which is really quite a crazy decade in American history. So let's check it out. Okay, so after the war, the economy's adjusting. You know, anytime the war generally helps the economy. Factory orders are up. The farming orders are up. These are all going to be declining in the early 20s, which also you put that in when the government is reducing taxes to try to help the economy. Again, this is all leading up to the Great Depression, our next decade here. The soldiers that come home, these women and minorities that came up north, a lot of them are going to lose their jobs when soldiers come home and take back their jobs. Farmers and factory workers are really going to, suffer the brunt of kind of this not so good economic time for most people. Okay, and what you see is this prejudice against foreign people. Okay, which is called nativism. So you have all of this kind of anti-immigrant, I guess patriotic, pro-America feelings going on, especially after the war. We just fought in a war against European countries, and a lot of these new immigrants are from European countries that we just fought against, particularly Germany. And there starts to be this anti-immigrant, foreigner feelings throughout the United States. Okay, and the United States also really kind of closes in on itself and really starts this period of isolationism, where you remember, the League of Nations is created. We're not even in it. We want to stay isolated. We want to stay away from world affairs, stay in our own hemisphere across the Atlantic Ocean, Pacific Ocean on the other side, and just kind of leave us alone. Okay. Now, at this time, during World War I, you have the Communist Revolution in Russia, which is going to make Americans pretty freaked out that this idea of communism could actually spread to the United States. Okay. Now, let me just kind of go through this here as far as communism and a communist government, and we'll do a lot of this stuff more in class. Total control by the government. Okay, people cannot vote. There's no elections. The views of the people are suppressed. All of these sort of things, and we'll go on here. And this big one here is this equal sharing of wealth. In a communist country, it's supposed to be you have no rich, you got no poor. Everyone's supposed to be equal. You take from the rich, you give to the poor, to try to share the wealth. Okay, so it's a totalitarian country, total control by the government. People are not allowed to voice their opinions. So you're supposed to have this classless, society with no private property. On the opposite side, democracy, which we have, people can vote. We have elections. People in theory are treated equally. We have more control individually. Other viewpoints are always heard. We have individual rights. So there starts to be this difference between, people start getting freaked out about communism, this, government has total control, to the type of freedoms that we have in a democracy. Okay, so this political system, single party, communism takes over in Russia, and what happens, okay, is it starts to spread a little bit to the United States, all right? And you think about who would benefit from a classless society where everyone's equal. Well, the bottom of society, and this is a lot of these factory workers, industrial workers, okay? And what's going to happen is people become paranoid, okay? If you're a worker and you're tying up with a union, you start striking, you're going to be accused of being a communist, because what happens is some of these communist radicals start bombing government buildings, start bombing businesses, bomb the attorney general's house. So there starts to be this feeling, this red scare, and red is the color associated with communism, this fear of communism, that communism could spread to the United States. Okay? So Attorney General Palmer takes action against the communists, and him along with the FBI are going to hunt down communists, socialists, anarchists. And just 25 years before this, an anarchist killed the president. Went up, shot him in the chest. William McKinley. So these anarchists, we think this today, like, oh yeah, no, they're serious. They're a serious threat. I mean, there's bombings going on. There's a Wall Street bombing. A truck bomb blows up in front of the New York Stock Exchange, and people are actively scared of these radicals. Anarchists are those that oppose any form of government. Okay, they don't want democracy. They just say, let kind of people rule themselves. All right, if you want to protect yourself, get a gun. All right, don't let anyone else tell you what to do. And these are the people that are going to be hunted down, arrested, a lot of times deported. I mean, they actually load up a boat, with almost over 1,000, I think, suspected communists, and just send them back to Russia. Okay, so this, let me just go back here. Okay, now, we'll go over some of this in class. You see the Attorney General's house bombed after he's starting to arrest a lot of these communists. There's Palmer. Okay. You see this fear, come unto me, ye oppressed, and you have European anarchists with a bomb. This idea that these European radicals are going to attack the freedoms and liberty that we love so much here in the United States. Okay. Now, this fear of communists and fear of radicals spreads to a fear of all immigrants, all foreigners.
You see, this kid is Italian. He feels deep.
In this case, these two men, Italian immigrants, they're anarchists. Sacco and Vanzetti, that's their last names, Bartolomeo. And what happens is they are arrested, charged with robbery and murder, and we'll do a little trial here in class. And the problem is they have this trial. They're guilty. Their guilt is not proven, but ultimately they are sentenced to death because the jury. Oh no! The jury finds them guilty. Okay, so you have this case with these two Italian immigrants. Are going to be put up for this crime. And ultimately executed. And they become this kind of symbol of the injustice that's going on in the 20s against immigrants. Okay, let me just pull this over here. Okay, there's Vanzetti here. There's Sacco. Okay, there's another picture there. You got their nice matching bracelets. All right. And there's huge protests. I mean, all along the United States, actually in Western Europe as well. Their funeral procession, 50,000 people show up because there's this idea of, what, if that could happen to them, it could happen to me. Okay, and this feeling of sympathy, of helplessness by our country. The immigration is booming at this time. Okay. Now, this anti-immigrant feeling of nativists, this associating immigrants with communists, we're going to get the Ku Klux Klan rising again. They're going to openly oppose, blacks, of course, Catholics, Jews, immigrants, people that drink. That's with saloons, people that are in unions, and you look at the numbers here. 4.5 million members. This isn't just some little group. I mean, this is a huge percentage of the country, and they're mostly in the South, but they start taking hold of state politics. You have sheriff, governors, senators that are elected that are open Klan members, and once they start to be a little more vocal and actually violence is going to start to erupt, leads to less power. But they become this national group that has a lot of power in the United States. Okay, you see this the rally in Washington, D.C., coming down the main street. You can see the Capitol building in the back, just to kind of show how almost mainstream their ideas are. All right, Klan meeting. Yes, you do have women in the Klan as well. Okay. Now, last thing here, the number of immigrants in the United States, 1919, 20, 21, grows by 600%. Okay, and there's this anti-immigrant feelings, and what the United States is they're going to create something called the quota system, and a quota is the number of anybody that's allowed to participate. Okay, so what they do is they put a quota on the number of immigrants that can come from each country. You know, once that quota or that limit is met, none, no more immigrants. Okay, and this is really going to discriminate against Southern, Eastern Europeans. Chinese are already completely excluded. 1880s, there's no Chinese immigration at all. So we actually put into law, a system that is actually going to make it very, very difficult for immigrants to come here legally or illegally. Okay, so we'll talk about this more in class. Kind of see the impact of this, but this idea, you see Uncle Sam putting the gate up, of anti-immigrant, anti-communist ideas in the United States, making people pretty freaked out. Okay, so we'll look at these cartoons in class.